Chosen one, do not close this message and do not take another step. I need to say this before you do anything else today. Stop moving. Whatever you were about to walk away from this week, the plan you were about to abandon, the place you were about to leave, the calling you were about to quit on, put it down for the next few minutes and listen. Because the restlessness you have been feeling lately, that sudden, overwhelming urge to pack it all up and run, is not what you think it is. They are already on their way to you. The people carrying what you prayed for, the opportunity with your name written on it, the answer that took years to build. It has left the gate. It is moving toward your exact coordinates right now. And there is only one thing left in this world that can stop it from arriving. Not the enemy, not the delay, not your past. You moving, that is why the instruction for this season is so strange and so simple. Stay put. Stand exactly where you were planted. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you why the pressure to leave always screams loudest in the final mile. The name of the reflex that has robbed more chosen ones than any attack ever has. And the three things you are supposed to be doing while you hold your position. If you have felt that pull to abandon your post this week, type the words, "I am staying" in the comments right now. Heaven honors a declared position. Now let me prove to you that I am not guessing about your life, because recognition matters more than persuasion. Somewhere in the last 30 days, you looked at something you have been building or believing for the first time in years you heard yourself say, "Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe this was never for me." It was not a dramatic moment. It was quiet. You were washing dishes or driving or lying awake at 2 o'clock in the morning, and the thought arrived with a strange calmness that almost sounded like wisdom. That is the first sign, and I need you to notice something about its timing. The thought didn't come when things were hardest. It came after you had already survived the hardest part. It came late, suspiciously late. Think about that. You endured the years when there was no evidence at all. You held on through seasons that would have broken most people. And now, after all of that endurance, the urge to quit shows up with more force than it ever had before. Does that sequence make any sense to you? Why would the desire to leave grow stronger as the destination gets closer, unless the desire to leave is not coming from you? Here is the second thing you have noticed. Lately, everything in your environment seems to agree that you should move. A friend casually mentions a city far away, and something in you leaps. An old opportunity resurfaces from a chapter you already closed wearing new clothes. Even your own home has started to feel too small, too slow, too quiet, as if the walls themselves were pushing you out the door. When every voice around you starts singing the same song at the same time, that is not coincidence. That is coordination, and coordination always has an author. And the third sign is the strangest one. Underneath all that restlessness in the deepest part of you, there is a small, stubborn knowing that refuses to leave. A quiet certainty that says you are exactly where you are supposed to be. It does not shout. It does not argue with the restlessness. It just stands there like a soldier who did not get the retreat order because no retreat order was ever given. That small knowing is the truest thing in your life right now, and this message exists to put language, evidence, and strategy around it. So, hold this question as we go deeper, because I will answer it before we are done. If what is coming to you cannot be stopped, why does someone need you to move so badly? Who benefits if you are not home when the delivery arrives? To answer that, I have to take you back before your restlessness began, back before you were tired. Because the season you are standing in right now did not start this year. It started the day something in you said yes to a life that made no sense on paper. You were never drawn to the ordinary path, were you? While others seemed content to build predictable lives with predictable rewards, you carried an ache you could not explain, a sense that something specific was supposed to happen through your life. Not fame, not applause, something more like an assignment. You felt it as a child before you had words for it. You felt it in your 20s when everyone told you to be realistic. You feel it now even under all the exhaustion, like an ember that refuses to die, no matter how much rain falls on it. And because you carried that ache, you made choices that cost you. You said no to doors that would have made your life easier but smaller. You kept believing through years when believing looked foolish. You planted yourself in a place, a work, a calling, a conviction, and you stayed planted while the world around you sprinted past, waving from windows of lives that looked faster than yours. Nobody threw you a parade for any of that. Most people never even saw it, but you did it anyway, because something in you knew that what you were carrying required roots, not wheels. Now, here is what you were never told about roots. A tree that stays planted in one place for years is not being passive. It is doing the most aggressive thing a living thing can do. It is going deeper. While everything above the surface looks motionless, beneath the ground, the roots are breaking through rock, finding water no one else can reach, anchoring against storms that have not arrived yet. The stillness you have been ashamed of was never stillness. It was construction, but construction seasons end, and this is where I need your full attention, because most chosen ones completely miss the moment when the season changes. There is a difference between a waiting season and an arrival season, and they feel almost identical from the inside. In a waiting season, heaven is preparing the thing for you. In an arrival season, heaven is moving the thing toward you. The preparation is finished, the order has shipped, and the reason you cannot feel the difference is that arrival seasons are famous for one cruel feature. They are quieter than waiting seasons. The silence gets deeper right at the end. The evidence gets thinner right at the end. It is the spiritual equivalent of the last minutes before dawn, when the night is at its coldest and darkest, precisely because the sun is closest to breaking. Everything I have covered across this channel is now in one place. The prayers, the teachings, the daily blessings. It is all inside the Daily Miracle Manual. Link in the description. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link in the description or the pinned comment, you aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give, and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose, join the conversation, and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today, join our community, and see what God brings back into your life. So, how do you know which season you are in? Look at the pressure. In a waiting season, the pressure says, try harder. In an arrival season, the pressure says, leave. That is the tell. When the dominant temptation of your life shifts from exhaustion to evacuation, from I cannot keep doing this to I should be somewhere else, the thing you asked for has already left the warehouse. If that shift has happened in you recently, pause and let that land. You are not in the waiting room anymore. You are at the delivery address. You are not in the waiting room anymore. You are at the delivery address. We have reached the exact moment where this shifts from waiting to active receiving. In the comments below, write these words: my delivery is at the door. Not I hope it comes, or maybe one day. Heaven responds to certainty and clarity. When you type those words, you are making a clear declaration that you are home, awake, and ready to receive the breakthrough that was assigned to your name. If this is making sense of your season, type the word arriving in the comments. Name the season, and the season becomes real to you. Now I can finally answer the question I asked you to hold. Who benefits if you are not home when the delivery arrives? Understand something about how opposition works against a chosen life. In your early seasons, the resistance you faced was designed to break your faith. Discouragement, delay, isolation, mockery. Those were siege weapons, and they were aimed at making you stop believing. But you did not stop believing. You are still here, and at a certain point, a point I believe you have already crossed, the resistance gave up on breaking your faith, because your faith proved unbreakable. So the strategy changed. Hear this clearly, because it may be the single most important sentence in this entire message. What has been assigned to you can no longer be blocked. It has been approved, released, and set in motion, and there is no power in this universe with the authority to cancel it. The only variable left, the only move remaining on the board, is your location. If the shipment cannot be stopped, the last strategy is to change the address to get the receiver to walk away from the coordinates where the delivery is scheduled to land. This is why your restlessness is not random, and it is not weakness, and it is not even truly yours. It is manufactured. It is the final tactic of an opponent who has already lost every other round. And I want to give you the name that researchers of the inner life and shepherds of the soul have circled for generations, because the moment you can name a thing, it loses its disguise. We call it the exit reflex. The exit reflex is the involuntary urge to abandon your position at the exact moment your position is about to pay off. And before you assume this is only a spiritual idea, you should know that the pattern shows up everywhere human beings get close to a breakthrough. Ask people who walk with others through long recoveries. and they will tell you the most dangerous week is the one right before the turning point. Because that is when people suddenly feel an overwhelming certainty that the process is not working. Ask those who mentor builders and founders, and they will tell you the strongest urge to dissolve everything arrives in the final stretch. When the work is closest to compounding, the reflex fires hardest at the finish line. It always has. Why? Because the reflex is not responding to failure, it is responding to proximity. Something in the unseen realm knows what your natural eyes cannot see yet, that the gap between you and the promise has collapsed to almost nothing. And since the promise cannot be touched, the reflex floods you instead. Restlessness, sudden doubt in things you were sure of for years, a strange nostalgia for exits you already rejected, an itch to renovate your entire life the very week you were supposed to simply hold still. Look back at your own history, and you will find the fingerprints. Remember the relationship, the project, the community, the discipline you abandoned years ago, the one where you later found out that the breakthrough arrived just after you left. You thought you discerned your way out. But when you learned what happened after you walked away, something in your stomach dropped. That was the exit reflex collecting its toll. Nearly every chosen one has at least one of those stories. The purpose of this message is to make sure you never have another one. So, let me lift the weight of shame off you right now, because you have been quietly wondering if all this restlessness means you are ungrateful or unstable or losing your faith. You are none of those things. Feeling the exit reflex does not mean you are broken. It means you are close. The reflex is not evidence of your weakness. It is evidence of your position. Nobody wastes a final tactic on someone standing far from the finish line. But naming the reflex is only half the battle, because you still have to live in a body and a mind that the reflex is actively flooding. And this is where I have to be honest with you about something most spiritual teachers skip, because it is uncomfortable. The battle for your position is not only fought in your spirit, it is fought in your attention. And the attention of this generation has been systematically weakened by the way modern life is built. A mind that has been scattered, fogged, and fractured cannot hold a post. It can want to hold a post. It can believe in holding the post, but wanting and believing are not the same as holding. Keep that thought close, because later in this message, I am going to show you something about the guardian mind that I believe was placed in my path specifically for the people hearing this. For now, we go deeper into the reflex itself, because it has 3 disguises, and you have already met all 3 of them this month. Before we go further, there is a question rising in you that deserves a direct answer. If all of this is true, why is the instruction only coming now? Why did heaven let you carry the restlessness for weeks before naming it? Understand a principle of divine timing that runs through the whole sacred record. Instructions are released when they become survivable. If you had been told to stand still at the beginning of your journey, when your faith was young and your roots were shallow, the command would have crushed you. Standing is heavier than walking. It takes more strength to hold a position under fire than to march in the open. The fact that this word is reaching you now is itself a verdict from heaven about your readiness. You are strong enough to be told the truth about your season. There is an ancient word in the old language of the prophets, the word kava, which we translate as wait. But kava does not mean to sit idle. Its root picture is the twisting of strands into a rope. To wait in the original tongue is to braid. Every day you hold your position with faith, another strand wraps into the cord that binds you to your promise. The people watching your life see someone doing nothing. Heaven sees a rope thickening daily, becoming the kind of line that can bear the full weight of what is being lowered onto it. You have not been waiting these years. You have been braiding, and a braided cord is exactly what the size of your delivery requires. Think of Joseph, because no life in the ancient record illustrates the delivery route better than his. A young man with a genuine dream thrown into a pit, sold by his own blood, falsely accused, and finally locked in an Egyptian prison, with every visible evidence declaring the dream dead. Now notice the detail almost every teaching skips. When the moment of elevation finally came, Joseph did not escape to it. He did not tunnel out and go looking for the palace. The palace sent for him. The delivery arrived at his cell. Pharaoh had a dream, the cupbearer remembered, and men with royal orders walked down into the prison to carry Joseph up. The route ended at his exact coordinates in the least promising address in Egypt. And what was Joseph doing when they came for him? He was at his post, serving faithfully in a place he never chose, interpreting dreams for prisoners with no power to repay him, keeping his gift sharp in the dark. If Joseph had spent those years scheming escapes, bribing guards, forcing exits, he would not have been findable on the day the summons came. His faithfulness was not just endurance. It was a forward in address. That is what your hidden faithfulness is doing right now. Every small obedience files a change of status in the unseen realm. Still here, still ready, still at the post. You are not maintaining a stalled life. You are keeping yourself findable, and the summons, when it comes, will come the way it came for Joseph. Suddenly, on an ordinary day, carried by people you did not recruit, opening doors you did not touch. But I hear the honest objection underneath, because you have carried it a long time. What if I have already missed it? What if my restlessness in some earlier season made me move when I should have stood, and my carrier came to an address I abandoned years ago? Chosen one, breathe and receive this. The God who assigns carriers also redraws routes. The record is full of second sendings. Jonah ran from his post entirely in the opposite direction by sea, and the word of the Lord came to him a second time. Peter deserted his assignment on the worst night of his life, and the risen Christ rerouted breakfast to a beach specifically to restore him. If missed deliveries were final, none of the names you revere would be in the book. What you may have missed in an earlier season has not been destroyed. It has been rescheduled. And the fact that heaven is pinning you to your coordinates right now with this much intensity tells you the new route is close to completing. So, release the grief of the old address. It has no power over the current map. The only delivery you can actually lose is the one approaching now. And the only way to lose it is to repeat the old pattern one more time. This is precisely why the pressure returned wearing the same disguise it wore back then. It is not haunting you. It is repeating itself because its playbook only has one page. The difference is that this time you have read the page too. If you can feel that difference in yourself, that you are no longer the person who obeys the restlessness automatically, type the word rerouted in the comments. If you can feel that difference in yourself, that you are no longer the person who obeys the restlessness automatically, Type the word rerouted in the comments right now. As you write it, let it be an official notice to every distraction that your map has been reset. You aren't grieving what was missed in past seasons. You are claiming the new path grace has cleared for you today. Mark the moment the pattern lost its grip. The first disguise the exit reflex wears is the costume of wisdom. It does not arrive saying run away. It arrives saying be strategic. It quotes your own vocabulary back to you. Maybe this door is closed for a reason. Maybe I am forcing something God ended long ago. It sounds so mature, so discerning that you almost congratulate yourself for thinking it. But here is how you unmask it. True divine redirection comes with peace and a destination. The counterfeit comes with pressure and only an exit. When God moves you, He tells you where to go. When the reflex moves you, it only tells you what to leave. If the voice urging you out of position cannot name where you are being sent, it is not a shepherd, it is a scatterer. The second disguise is the costume of comparison. The reflex will parade other people past your window at the precise moment your own field looks most barren. Suddenly, your feed, your conversations, your memory, all fill with people who moved and prospered, who left the marriage and seem happier, who quit the calling and got promoted, who abandon their post and appear from a distance to be free. What you are not shown is the whole story. You are shown highlight reels engineered to make your obedience feel like a prison. And notice the timing again. This parade never marches past your window during ordinary weeks. It arrives in delivery weeks. The comparison is not information, it is bait. A fisherman does not throw bait at empty water. He throws it where he knows something valuable is swimming. The third disguise is the costume of fatigue, and this one deserves the most compassion because it is built out of real material. You are genuinely tired. Years of holding a position no one applauded will do that to a body and a soul. The reflex takes that legitimate tiredness and performs a subtle translation. It turns "I need rest" into "I need out." Those are radically different sentences. Rest restores you inside your assignment. Out removes you from it. The enemy of your destiny is perfectly happy for you to get rest as long as the price of the rest is your coordinates. So, when the exhaustion speaks, answer it this way. Yes, I will rest right here at my post with my boots on. Now, once you can see through all three disguises, a question rises that changes everything. If I am not supposed to move, what am I supposed to do? And this is where I have to correct the biggest misunderstanding about the instruction to stay put. Almost everyone hears "stand still" and thinks "do nothing." They picture passivity, a parked car, a paused life. That picture is completely wrong, and believing it will make the standing unbearable. There is a difference between standing still and standing guard. A parked car and a sentry at his post are both motionless, but one is empty, and the other is the most alert presence on the field. You were not commanded to park. You were commanded to guard. We call this position standing guard, not standing still. The stillness of a guard is not the absence of action. It is action compressed into vigilance. And a guard on duty has 3 active assignments, which means so do you. The first assignment is to guard the gate. Every delivery needs an open, undamaged entrance. And the gate of your life is your daily faithfulness. The small obediences you have almost stopped doing because they seem to change nothing. The prayer you almost dropped, the discipline you almost let slide, the kindness you almost retired. These are not small. They are the hinges of the gate. Keep them oiled. Keep the entrance clear. Nothing assigned to you can be received through a gate you have abandoned. The second assignment, and is to guard the declaration. What you say about your position while you hold it matters more than you know. A guard who announces to the whole camp that the reinforcements are probably not coming is worse than no guard at all, because he disarms everyone who hears him, including himself. Your mouth is either defending your coordinates or leaking them. So this season let your words be few and armed. I am planted. It is en route.
She tried to hurt your reputation, but it will shine again, and she will be gone from your life, your mind, and your future, because God is blocking her access forever. Let's talk about time now. Do you understand why this is happening now? Because you finally reached a level of vibration where lies can't live. You're too safe, too tuned in, and too aligned. She's no longer a good fit for your calling, and the universe is taking away everything that can't go with you. It does hurt, but what's coming is bigger than betrayal, courtrooms, and her fake confidence. You are being launched into your purpose, not walked into it. That woman, though, was just the last lesson before the miracle. Now pay close attention. 3 divine instructions are about to follow. The change will be loud, quick, and impossible to miss if you follow them. The wait time could last longer if you ignore them, though. So, promise me you'll stay. Keep reading. Don't skip a word, because the first instruction is in the next paragraph, and it will change your life right away. It's time, my love. Stop thinking about anything else and hold this message close to your chest like a holy scroll. What I'm about to say is not just words on a page. It's not an exciting story. It is a suggestion. It is a command from God. In the form of a sentence, it is spiritual protection. Listen with your spirit, and let the fire of truth burn louder than the noise of fear. You will not only come out of this situation unscathed, but also blessed. The first divine instruction is to not defend yourself the way she wants you to. She wants you to post, call, cry, or get back at her. But God says no. That's her trap. She is strong because she can pull you into a world of chaos, noise, and confusion. But your strength comes from being quiet, peaceful, and calm. Some things are more powerful than words, like divine silence. And when you work from that place of silence, her accusations start to fall apart on their own. This isn't a mud wrestling match. You're here to rise above it and make her look up, which will make her choke on the height. Stay where you are because she can't follow you into peace. Please don't whisper. Don't try to explain what God has already shown. Don't explain why the truth is going to scream even louder than she did. Your silence will scare her more than anything you say. The second divine instruction is to emotionally separate yourself from what is familiar but bad. I know this is hard for you, kid. She used to feel like she had family, comfort, and a history with them. You told her stories that you didn't even tell yourself. You thought her laughter meant she was loyal. What you thought was her advice was based on care. But now you know that some connections were never divine. They were just possible. Because she didn't want to be alone, she stayed close. She wanted you when you were still not sure, still saying sorry, and still turning down the brightness of your life so she could shine. But that person is no longer you. That door is now shut. And as your guardian, Archangel Michael, I need you to shut it down mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Stop thinking about the what ifs. Stop remembering the painful things that connect your soul to hers. That's not why you're leaving her. You're leaving her out of line. No, she's not your enemy. She's just not your peak. And the things that are coming your way.
The favorite delivery method of heaven has never been lightning from the sky. It has always been people and moments moving along assigned routes carrying cargo. They often do not even understand they are carrying. We call them assigned carriers. And right now, somewhere between where they are and where you are, your carriers are in motion. This is not poetry. This is logistics. The connector who knows the person you need to know. The gatekeeper whose heart has already been turned toward your name. The resource that has been rerouted through 3 different hands so that it lands in yours. You have been picturing your promise as a distant event. Start picturing it as a convoy, already loaded, already moving, already carrying your address. Now, why does that picture matter so much? Because it changes what your faith is doing. Faith that waits for an event is passive and gets exhausted. Faith that expects a convoy becomes watchful. And watchfulness is exactly what your post requires. When you know carriers are coming, every knock matters. Every conversation might be the connection. Every ordinary Tuesday is suddenly a candidate for the day the route completes. You stop scanning the horizon for lightning and start paying attention to people, which is where the blessing has been scheduled to come from all along. But carriers can be missed. Let me tell you about a woman whose story has stayed with me for years. She had prayed more than a decade for a specific door in her work. A door that would let her provide for her family and step into what she knew she was made for. And in her 11th year, a season of restlessness hit her exactly like the one I described at the beginning of this message. Everything in her screamed to relocate, to start over in another city, where things would surely be easier. She had the boxes half packed. And one morning in prayer, one sentence dropped into her spirit with unmistakable weight. "Daughter, why are you leaving the address I gave them?" She unpacked the boxes. 17 days later, a former colleague she had not spoken to in 6 years knocked on her door in person with an opportunity so precisely shaped to her preparation that she wept before the woman finished speaking. The carrier had been en route for months. The route ended at the address she almost abandoned. Hear the lesson inside that story. The carrier was not sent to where she was thinking of going. The carrier was sent to where she was planted. Assignments are delivered to positions, not to potentials. Heaven does not track your daydreams. It tracks your coordinates. And that brings us to the part of the ache I have not touched yet. The part of you that says, "But I have been standing so long. If it is really this close, why do I feel like I cannot hold on another month?" Chosen one, let me reframe the entire mathematics of your journey. You have not come most of the way. You have come all of your way. The distance that remains does not belong to you. It belongs to the convoy. There is a line in the ancient story of the Red Sea that most people quote wrong. The instruction to Israel, standing trapped between an army and the water, was not fight harder. It was stand still and watch the deliverance. The final mile of that miracle was walked by the sea itself, not by the people. Their part was position. The part God carried was motion. and the pattern repeats through the whole sacred record. The army of Joshua did not tear down the walls of Jericho. They held formation while heaven handled demolition. The prophet at the brook did not chase down his own food. Ravens were assigned a route, and his only job was to be at the brook when they landed. Do you see what the pattern is teaching? In every one of these stories, there is a handoff point, a line where human effort ends and divine logistics begin. Cross that line still striving, and you actually interfere with the delivery. Your season has crossed that line. The reason your efforts lately have felt strangely powerless is not that you failed. It is that your part is finished. The remaining work does not respond to your hustle. It responds to your stillness. This is why rest is not a luxury right now. It is the assignment. If your soul just exhaled hearing that, type the word planted in the comments. If your soul just exhaled hearing that, type the word planted in the comments below. Let those words serve as your active covenant with heaven. When you type them, you are stepping out of the hustle and agreeing to let divine logistics carry the final mile. You are announcing that you are rooted, ready, and unshakable. Let it stand as your position report. Now, stay with me because we have reached the deepest layer of this message, the question underneath all the other questions. Why would the design of things require you to be sharp, clear, and fully present at the moment of arrival? Why does the guard need clear eyes if God is handling the delivery anyway? Because arrival moments are recognition moments. Almost every carrier comes disguised as something ordinary. A conversation that could be small talk or could be the door. An offer that looks modest on the surface with a kingdom underneath. An introduction whose weight is invisible unless you are paying attention. The tragedy recorded again and again in human lives is not that the blessing never came. It is that the blessing came and was not recognized because the receiver was foggy at the window. The delivery does not just require your presence. It requires your perception. And perception is exactly what this generation has been robbed of. Let me close the loop I opened earlier because I told you there was something discovered in research laboratories that I would come back to. And I want to tell you now why I waited until this moment. Because what they found is not information. What they found is a solution. And a solution only becomes useful once you understand the full shape of the problem it solves. You now understand the shape. A watchman at the right post in the right season, whose watchtower has been quietly dimmed. So let us finally walk into the answer. In 1981, a neuroscientist named Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize for research that quietly rewrote what we know about the human mind. Not from a church, not from a seminary, from a research laboratory. His split-brain research proved that you do not have one processor behind your eyes. You have two hemispheres, two distinct engines of perception designed to work in synchronization. And when they do synchronize, something remarkable happens. The mind enters the state associated with what researchers call flow. The state where recognition, creativity, and decision arrive almost effortlessly. The state, in other words, that a watchman at his post was designed to live in. Here is the path that should stop you cold. Studies of children found that around 98% of them operated what researchers classify as a creative genius level of thinking. Fewer than 1 in 1,000 adults maintain it. Read that again, slowly. Nearly every child begins life with the watchtower fully lit. Almost no adult keeps it. Somewhere between the playground and the mortgage, the lights go down. Not because of sin, not because of weakness, because modern life, with its noise, its schooling, its screens, its relentless fragmentation, gradually pulls the two hemispheres out of sync. The fog you fight is not a character flaw. It is a disconnection. Our sharpness was taken from us at the neural level so gradually that we each assumed we were the only one dimming. A woman from California described what it felt like before she found what I am about to describe. She had tried everything: prayer, journaling, meditation, every practice her community offered, and she kept arriving at the same experience. She believed the words, but she could not feel the reality behind them. Not in her body, not in the lived texture of her days. She said it was like standing at her post, wrapped in cotton. After 10 days, something cleared. A channel that had been blocked was suddenly open. Not because she tried harder, because the receiver had been repaired. A man from Texas described something similar from the other side of life. Years of holding things together for everyone around him, while his own interior world grew thin and distant. Prayer had started to feel like talking into a wall. The signal was right, but the receiver was off. 2 weeks after starting what I am about to describe, he woke up and said his mind was finally running on all of what it was supposed to run on. The fog that had been so constant, he had stopped registering it as fog was simply gone. That is because of what the team I am about to describe discovered. A team of neuroscientists led by Dr. Daniel Barron, a neurologist in New York City, spent years doing the following. They took over an hour of clinical neural sync technology, the kind of whole brain activation protocol used in specialized medical settings, and through an intensive process of compression and refinement, they distilled it into an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. 8 minutes a day, headphones on, eyes closed. That is the entire physical requirement. They call it the Genius Switch. It is not a meditation app, and it is not a mood track. It is a targeted auditory sequence engineered on the foundation of the Nobel Prize research of Dr. Roger Sperry to reconnect the two hemispheres and restore the whole brain activation that was your default state in childhood. If you have tried listening tracks from big platforms before and found them underwhelming, Dr. Barron addresses that directly. Most of what circulates freely targets only a fraction of the picture. What his team built targets hemisphere synchronization at the whole brain level through a multi-layer protocol refined over years of clinical work. Different mechanism, different category of result. And you do not need to add a single discipline to your life for it to work. No mantras, no journaling, no hour of silence. It works beneath your awareness while you simply sit with your eyes closed. Miss a day and nothing collapses. You just continue. It is, quite honestly, the lowest effort instruction I have ever passed along to anyone, which is fitting because it belongs to a season whose entire assignment is stand still and stay sharp. Now let me speak plainly about who this is for. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that God prepared not only the promise, but the mind that must recognize it at the door. The one who has been sincere for years, who has held the post through seasons with no applause, and who is finally willing to stop treating the fog as a character flaw and start treating it as something with a specific address. Most people who hear this will scroll past. They have accepted the dimmed version of their mind as permanent. You are still here. That is not coincidence. That is the persistence of the exact person this was built for. What about the cost of something like this? When colleagues of Dr. Barron reviewed the protocol, several suggested that even $500 would be reasonable, considering that in person, neurofeedback runs about $300 an hour, and home systems run into the thousands. It was not released at $500. It was not released at $200. It was released at $49. And today, through the page connected to this message, there is an additional $10 off. $39 one-time lifetime access sent to your email within minutes. They also include 4 gifts with it. If you want the full guide with every prayer and lesson I've compiled for this community, check the description for the Daily Miracle Manual. You are about to enter your divine future, but remember, this breakthrough is not for you alone. Your testimony is the bridge someone else will use to reach their own miracle. Archangel Michael is inviting you to visit Community through the link in the description or the pinned comment. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community, does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. By joining our like-minded community, you are no longer praying in isolation. You are adding your voice to a global sanctuary where we discuss the word daily and stand in the gap for one another. This is not poetry when Jesus says, "Give, and heaven will open over you." On this platform, every seed you plant turns into oil for your destiny, fire for your calling, and a hedge of safety for your family. Now is your time. Step into our community prayer wall, share your heart, and as you give, watch God multiply what you let go of. Let's finish this journey together. Visit Out Community now, join the family, and see your heavens open. A guided visualization from a top-rated creator on the Calm app, walking you through the 4 rooms of a restored life: money, love, health, and happiness. A smart grocery guide exposing 10 common American foods linked to brain fog with shortcuts that save many families over $100 a month. A classic manifestation text more than a century old. The root of much that is taught today, included free. And a beautifully designed infographic of the 5 habits that protect an awakened mind, made to print and hang where you will see it. And every dollar is covered by an unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen once or listen 80 times. If it does not do for you what it has done for more than 18,000 everyday people, every dollar returns to you. No questions, no conditions. The entire risk sits on their side of the table, which is exactly where a trustworthy tool carries it. One honest caution before I close this door. The provision God has already routed toward you becomes visible to the synchronized mind in a way it simply does not to the partial one. Not because the provision changes, because the receiver that can recognize it comes back online. What has been arranged for you is already in motion. The question this season asks is whether you will be standing at the gate with the watchtower lit when it arrives. And if you go searching big platforms for something with a similar name, be careful. The team studied what circulates out there and found that most of it carries the label with none of the mechanism. The mechanism is the difference, and it exists only in what his team built. The direct page is the only verified source, and that is where the link below points. If your spirit resonates with what has been described, you will find it in the description underneath this message and in the pinned comment. Everything is laid out on their page. Read it all before you decide anything. The tool does not replace God, it does not replace obedience, and it does not stand guard for you. What God is doing in you was never conditional on any tool. But a tool that restores the receiver gives what God is doing more of what it was designed to land in. The deeper current of this message is where we return now. And now that the Watchtower question has been settled, there is a final skill your post requires, one that almost nobody teaches. You must learn to recognize a true carrier when one knocks, because not everything that knocks in an arrival season is carrying your cargo. The same week your true delivery approaches, counterfeits tend to appear at the gate. This is not superstition, it is strategy. If the receiver cannot be moved off the coordinates, the next best play is to get the receiver to open the gate to the wrong thing, exhaust the welcome, and be too depleted or too disappointed to answer the true knock. So let me give you the marks of a true carrier, the ones that hold up across the old stories and across the testimonies of people who have lived them. A true carrier connects to your preparation, not just your appetite. When the opportunity stands in front of you, you will notice with a shiver that it fits the exact skills, scars, and history you gathered in your hidden years, as if someone had read your file. Counterfeits flatter your cravings. Assignments fit your formation. A true carrier carries peace alongside pressure. There will be urgency, because arrival moments do have windows. But underneath the urgency, there is a floor of peace that holds your weight when you stand on it. The counterfeit reverses this. It offers excitement on the surface and a strange, hollow static underneath the basement of every offer, not the balcony. The feeling at the bottom tells the truth. A true carrier survives your prayers. This is the oldest test and still the best one. When you take the knock into the quiet and hold it before God, a true assignment grows heavier, more solid, more inevitable. A counterfeit thins out. It needs noise, haste, and your untested first reaction to survive. Anything that demands you skip the quiet is telling on itself. Nothing routed by heaven fears the presence of heaven. And one more because it matters more than people admit. A true carrier does not require you to abandon your post to receive it. Think about the woman whose colleague knocked on her actual door. The delivery came to the address. Any opportunity whose first requirement is that you desert the field you were told to hold, betray the values you were formed in, or become someone you are not, has already told you whose warehouse it shipped from. What is assigned to you meets you inside your obedience, not outside it. Write these 4 marks somewhere you will see them. Fits your preparation, peace under the pressure, grows in the quiet, meets you at your post. That is your gate protocol for this season. And with it, you no longer need to fear opening the gate at the wrong moment. The watchman who knows the marks can answer every knock without anxiety, because discernment has replaced guessing. If you want to keep this protocol, type the word gatekeeper in the comments, and it will be sealed in your memory by your own declaration. Now, let me take you forward a little, because you have been staring at the closed door of this season for so long that I think you have forgotten to imagine it opening. Come with me for a moment. It is an ordinary morning, some weeks or months from now. Nothing on the calendar warned you about this day. You are at your post doing the small, faithful thing you have done 1,000 times, and the knock comes. The call, the letter, the person standing there with your name in their mouth. And here is the detail I want you to feel in advance. You are not startled. Something in you rises calmly, almost smiling, and says, "I know what this is. I was told you were coming." Feel the difference between being surprised by your breakthrough and recognizing it. Surprise is what happens to people who waited. Recognition is what happens to people who watched. And in that moment, every year that looked wasted reorganizes itself in your memory. The long silence turns out to have been the sound of roots being drawn. The restlessness you refuse to obey turns out to have been the final exam, and you passed it standing still. You will look back at this exact season, the one you are in right now, the one that feels endless tonight, and you will call it the season everything was already moving. And there is a version of that morning that reaches beyond you because chosen ones never receive deliveries for themselves alone. The cargo coming toward your coordinates has other names attached to it. The family that will be sheltered by what you receive. The strangers who will be reached by what you build with it. The generation after you that will inherit a field their ancestor refused to abandon. When you hold your post, you are not holding a private position. You are holding a supply line. Somewhere downstream of your obedience, people you have not met are depending on the watchman staying at the window tonight. That is how much weight your stillness is carrying. That is why the pressure on you has been so absurdly strong. Nobody builds that much opposition around an empty warehouse. So, when the exit reflex whispers tonight, and it may because it has heard this message too, you will have an entire arsenal it did not expect. You know its name now. You know its 3 costumes. You know the 4 marks of the true knock. It is trying to make you miss. You know your 3 duties at the gate, at the declaration, and at the watchtower. And you know the map is already lit with moving lights. The reflex thrives in the dark, in the unnamed, in the vague. You have dragged it into the light and read its file out loud. It has never had less power over you than it has right now. In this moment, at this post, one small honesty before we move toward the sealing of this message. Holding a position with a clear mind is easier than holding it with a foggy one. And I have already shown you where that door is. I will not mention it again after this. The resource from the team of Dr. Barron remains in the description and in the pinned comment for those whose spirit confirmed it. That is the last time it will be named tonight. The rest of what remains in this message belongs entirely to something else. Because there is one more piece of your position I have not given you yet, and it may be the piece your heart has needed most. I want to talk about what to do on the days when standing feels impossible. The days when the exit reflex is not a whisper but a roar. When the parade of other lives marches past your window all afternoon. When your body is tired in a way sleep does not fix. On those days, I want you to remember that you are not the first watchman to tremble at a post. Elijah, one of the fiercest voices in the entire sacred record, sat under a broom tree after his greatest victory and asked to die. The man who called down fire wanted out. And notice what heaven did with him. No lecture, no shame. An angel brought him food, let him sleep, fed him again, and only then spoke about the road ahead. The response of God to an exhausted watchman is not rebuke. It is provision. If your season under the broom tree is now, receive that. You are allowed to be tired at your post. You are simply not allowed to believe the tiredness when it tells you the post is worthless. Then there is the temptation to compare your motionless season to the movement of others. And I want to hand you a picture to keep. Two fields sit side by side in winter. One farmer, restless, tears up his field in February and replants it with something faster. The other holds his ground, trusting what he planted in the fall. From the road, both fields look identical for months. Bare, silent, unimpressive. But underneath one of them, a root system is finishing its work. When spring arrives, the difference between the two fields is not visible in weeks. It is visible in decades. You are not behind. You are underground. There is a difference. And for the days when you cannot feel God at all at your post, hear this carefully, because it may reverse everything you assumed about the silence. In the old stories, the silence of heaven consistently deepens right before its greatest interventions. 400 years of silence preceded the arrival that split history in two. The quietest night of all was the night before the tomb opened. Silence in the divine pattern is not absence. It is the sound a final preparation makes. When the director goes quiet backstage, it is because the curtain is about to move. So, when your prayers seem to echo in an empty room this season, do not read it as abandonment. Read it as the hush before the entrance. Now let me gather the whole of this message into your hands, because a watchman needs his orders in a form he can carry. Your season has changed from waiting to arrival. The pressure you feel to leave is not guidance. It is the exit reflex, the last tactic of an opponent who cannot touch the shipment, and so must move the receiver. It wears three costumes: false wisdom that offers exits without destinations, comparison that arrives suspiciously on schedule, and fatigue that translates "I need rest" into "I need out." You now see through all three. Your instruction is not standing still, but standing guard. And the guard has three duties. Guard the gate, meaning the small daily faithfulness that keeps the entrance of your life open. Guard the declaration, meaning a mouth that defends your coordinates instead of leaking them. Guard the watchtower, meaning a mind kept clear and sharp enough to recognize the carrier when the knock comes. And the carriers are coming, assigned people, assigned moments, assigned resources, moving along routes that end at the address where you were planted. Not the address you were tempted to flee to. Your part of the distance is complete. The final mile belongs to the convoy. For the chosen one who felt something stir when the mind was mentioned earlier, that door is still open in the description. It is a small step, but small steps taken from a clear mind have changed entire seasons. Before this message ends, I am going to speak something over your life, over your post, and over everything currently in transit toward you. But first, I want to give you something to do with your body right now, because positions are held with more than thoughts. Wherever you are, sit back for a moment and let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Notice how much of your body has been braced, as if you were carrying the delivery yourself. You are not the carrier. You are the receiver. Now picture your life as a single point of light on a dark map, steady, unmoving, faithful. And now, from the edges of that map, see them. Small lights moving along roads you cannot name, all of them converging slowly, steadily, unstoppably toward your point. Every route was drawn before you were born. Watch one of the lights get closer. Feel what it does to your chest to know the map is already in motion. Now place your hand over your heart and let a single sentence rise from that deep, stubborn knowing we named at the beginning. Say it quietly, or say it inside. I am exactly where I am supposed to be. Let your breath slow down around that sentence. This is what a held position feels like. Remember this feeling. You will need it on the loud days. And now, chosen one, receive this as the seal over everything we have walked through together. It was music released at $49, and today on that page there is an additional $10 off, which brings it to $39. Music comes with 4 things alongside it. A guided visualization from a top-rated creator on a leading car map. A smart grocery guide that saves over $100 a month. A manifestation classic more than 100 years old that still sells for $20 on its own. And a printable 5 Music Habits infographic. And it is backed by an unconditional money-back music guarantee. Listen once or listen 80 times. If it does, music, not do for you what it has done for 18,456 people, every dollar comes back with no conditions and no questions. Here is what I want you to consider, and it is not a deadline because I, music, do not believe in inventing those. The provision for the next part of your life has almost certainly already been placed near you. That is how it usually works. It is rarely delivered on the day you need it. Music is set down early in a person you already know, in a conversation you already had, in an open door you have walked past 4 times. Music. In the synchronized state, you see it. In the partial state, you walk past it and call it a closed season. Nothing is being withheld from you. Something is simply not being registered. And every month spent in the partial state is a month of provision going unrecognized in your own life. One practical thing. If you go looking for similar sounding tracks elsewhere, you will find plenty of them, and none of them have the neural sync technology embedded. The sound is not